Hey, everybody, it's Wednesday on This Week in Startups.
That's right. Today, we're going to kick it off with a discussion about TikTok and surveillance. Molly and I get into a bit of a debate about the risks and what we should be worrying about. And I have a message for employees of TikTok here in the USA.
He does. It's a little bit spicy. And then we're going to talk about labor. And apparently, Amazon is forecasting it will run out of workers in some of the cities it operates in. We're going to talk about reasons and solutions like we do.
Yeah. And we talk a little bit about our addiction and then lowering our carbon footprints and our consumption footprints and this whole new genre of startups that are doing, what is it called?
Circularity.
Circularity. It's not the singularity, it's a circularity. It's really an interesting concept. It's like an OK Boomer segment with Molly explaining this stuff to me. It's going to be a great show.
Stick with us.
This Week in Startups is brought to you by Odoo. Odoo is a fully customizable and fully integrated suite of business apps that lets you build and scale your stack as you build and scale your business. Your first app is free forever, and right now, Odoo is offering $1,000 off your first implementation pack at odoo.com/twist. That's odoo.com/twist. Coda. Coda is the all-in-one doc for teams. If you've got a stack of niche workflow tools, or if you're buried in docs and spreadsheets, Coda is the doc that brings it all together. Startups can get a $1,000 credit at coda.io/twist. And AdQuick. If most of your advertising dollars are going to digital ads, it's time to diversify. Out-of-home advertising like billboards offers low-cost, high-value reach. AdQuick makes it easy to plan, buy, and measure all in one place. Visit adquick.com/twist and mention twist to get $1,000 off your first campaign.
Okay, everybody. Apparently, we're going to need to talk about TikTok again.
Yes, still, again. There has been, of course, a bunch of reporting, a bunch of speculation. What do Chinese authorities have access to? What does ByteDance have access to when you're using TikTok? TikTok, of course, claims that all user data is on U.S. users is stored in the U.S. And, of course, TikTok continues to expand its influence in the Western world. It's up to 1.6 billion monthly active users, which is a lot. It has cemented itself, I think, as the competition to Facebook, Twitter, even YouTube. YouTube, which is very unlike YouTube, actually created a new product, the Shorts product, to compete with TikTok and keep users on its platform, and so on and so forth. Now, let's talk about TikTok's influence in the US.
Yeah.
And whether it is or is as influential or even more influential in American politics than Facebook. TikTok, of course, is a Chinese company operating in the US and worldwide. China, as a reminder, basically blocked Google and Facebook. So as Jason has pointed out many times, this is an asynchronous relationship. TikTok operates here. American social networks do not operate in China.
Yeah, it's one way. There's no reciprocity here. We are not allowed to have our apps in China.
Yep. They are behind the Great Firewall. U.S. lawmakers have tried to insist that TikTok has to keep its U.S. data in the U.S., and TikTok has said that it makes every effort to do so. However, there is some recent reporting from BuzzFeed News based on internal company audio from 80 leaked meetings.
80.
Saying, and it seems that the bulk of these meetings were about how to do this and efforts to do this in the wake of the timing in this article is a little unclear, but it seems to be in the wake of the Trump administration preparing executive orders saying that TikTok would have to be banned. They were like, oh, crap. OK, we're going to have to do this.
We did a little saber rattling. Trump did a little saber rattling, something I agree with him on. And then you remember the U.S. version said they would move the data to Oracle's cloud or something like that. Microsoft was going to put in a bid to buy it, et cetera. At the same time, India banned it and banned other Chinese apps because they're smart and they understand trade for some crazy reason. We're not letting them in here. But what really stuck out to me here was all of the backdoors. So if you read this story, basically all of the tools and all of the monitoring and the management systems of TikTok were written by the Chinese parent company. The people in the US sound like bumbling idiots who have no idea how any of this works and where the data is and who's seeing it. And the people at Oracle and the consulting firms that work with them are kind of saying, listen, we're just giving you raw hardware. It's up to you to put the software on it, which means they have no insight. And you have to wonder, developers are very principled people. This is 80 meetings. So they're 80 meetings into this process. Mm-hmm. And if they were doing 2 meetings a week, this is like a year's worth of meetings or so. Because that's what I would think the cadence would be here. Yeah. Somebody is very concerned about this internally. Enough that they would risk taping all these meetings and leaking them. Mm-hmm. That to me seems like a major red flag, like major red flag. The fact that some principled person who is not going to get any financial gain from doing this and could be in the crosshairs of the Chinese government, which is no joke, and the U.S. and the companies, and could be sued for damages, all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And who knows? It could be one of the consulting firms, or it could be Oracle. It could be anybody in these groups, but I have a feeling it's somebody inside of TikTok itself here in the U.S.
I'm going with Facebook spy, if I'm being honest. And here's why.
Facebook spy? How would they get into the meeting?
Well, maybe they went to work for Facebook, or maybe, we're planning to. I don't really know. But here's what I do. Here's what I do know.
Okay.
One, and although I have defended BuzzFeed reporting, mm-hmm. because recently. They have it recently, and they do, and they have done some good reporting. This story, as it unfolded, mm-hmm. right? Like this story, as it begins, makes it sound like, oh crap, the all U.S. user data has been flowing freely, and that's just that. And all these tools have a backdoor built into them. The end. Yeah. And then as the reporting unfolds, it becomes clear that these meetings were all about attempting to secure U.S. user data, which is a good thing.
Yes.
That turned out to be a slightly difficult process.
Very difficult.
Very difficult. But in the recordings, the vast majority of situations, and I'm reading from this story, which is way down in the middle, quote, in the recordings, the vast majority of situations where China-based staff accessed U.S. user data were in service of Project Texas's aim to halt this data access, meaning that they were testing in service of making sure that wasn't happening.
Right.
So that's like buried way down halfway through.
Okay.
And most of the recorded meetings focus on TikTok's response to these concerns. I don't know why someone leaked this. I do think that there is some concern about whether TikTok in China, whether this user data is being accessed in China. I also think that the user data that Facebook and Google, and to some extent Twitter, but much less, are harvesting and using in completely non-transparent ways is equally terrible. And it feels to me a little convenient that these stories are all of a sudden starting to appear at the moment when like Meta's growth has been, or revenue growth, at least revenue has been flat for however long now, when this is like the
stock price
real
has gone
competitor.
Down, revenue's been okay. They're still throwing
Revenue's
a lot of money.
Been great, but the stock price is flat.
Yeah, and the earnings it's been down. Yeah, they lost 5 years worth of growth, and the earnings have gotten a lot of headwinds because of the Apple changes. That's fair enough. And they also have been investing so much. Yeah,
I'm just not sold. I'm honestly like, I'm having this really weird feeling where I'm just not sold on the red scare that is TikTok when I know that it benefits companies that are frankly just as harmful. Okay, from what we can tell so far when it comes to user data.
Let me help you become scared. let me pull you back from this space that you've gone to, because I understand why you're there.
You've gone to.
This is a dangerous space because Facebook has been a bad actor, and I have been super critical of the firm, as have you, as has anybody who's just objectively looked at their behavior. And so we look at their behavior, they collect too much information, they have been laissez-faire with it, they have done horrible things. Cambridge Analytica, was that the name of that scandal? Yep. I mean, all these different scandals have piled up over the years. So yes, you're correct in not trusting Facebook. But understand, the CIA, FBI, Republican Party, etc., as much as they've tried to get their keys to the kingdom, they had to use third-party tools to get that information. They got caught with significant blowback to Facebook, congressional hearings or legislation, the EU stomping on them, Apple then reducing their ability to track their customer base. In other words, their bad behavior resulted in the entire climate of anti-tech and specifically anti-social media here in the US and all that regulation.
Yeah.
Now let's go to China. They have unfettered access to all this data, just like they have Didi's data, just like they have Alibaba's data, just like they removed the CEO of Alibaba, just like they delisted. So when you look at what our government is doing, our government is investigating and holding Facebook and others feet to the fire, as is the EU to an even stronger degree. China is doing the opposite. They're taking over the companies. They're downloading the data sets. They're incorporating them into their giant mass surveillance. And you need only look at how they treat their own people, whether it's the Uyghurs or the tracking of anybody who might support any kind of dissent in that country. People who sell books that they don't like in Hong Kong, being sent to the mainland to be re-educated, which means starved, tortured, raped, and beaten. All of those re-education things that are occurring, all of that activity, it stands in stark contrast to what happens to bad behavior here in the US. Should we be stronger? Should we get control of these companies? Sure, there's arguments to be made. Are we doing it retroactively? Of course we are. That's how, the justice system works. You're innocent until proven guilty, and getting proven guilty takes, years, if not decades in corporate America. It's imperfect, this system, but we have an existential risk here. Before we get to the ad, it makes our team so happy to see our partners celebrate big wins, and I'm thrilled to hear about this huge funding round for our amazing partner, Odoo. Really great stuff from Julie and the team there, especially in this crazy venture market. So congratulations. And speaking of the market right now, being capital efficient is more important than ever. You know that if you're an entrepreneur. And one easy way for you to cut costs is to run all of your SaaS apps on one platform. So check out Odoo's suite of business apps. Using Odoo means you don't have to have a bunch of different SaaS subscriptions. Everything you need is already on Odoo right now. All you have to do is turn it on when you're ready. And they only charge you for the apps you use. Odoo has over 40 main apps and over 16,000 apps from their open source community. All of this will streamline your business. No more issues transferring data back and forth, and you'll have one customer support contact across all of your apps, not 20. And here's the best part. Your first app is free forever. And Odoo is offering you $1,000 in credit on your first implementation pack. So go to odoo.com/twist for $1,000 off. That's odoo.com/twist. If the Chinese government, and there's a New York Times story that dropped today about all the different provinces, and we'll get into that, and what the granularity at which they are tracking their own citizens. They're tracking what apps are on their phone. They're tracking their faces. They're connecting their faces to the apps. They're connecting what they wear. They're connecting where they go, all into a database that the police have unfettered access to, and the police and obviously everybody in the government. If they're doing that to their own people, the second they had the chance to do it to their greatest adversary, the United States, they would do it. And all is fair in spying. They will get all of this data from a senator's son or daughter, a senator's husband or wife or cousin, and they will get the compromat. They will compromise anybody at any time to achieve their goals. And that's why we need to immediately ban TikTok from the United States until such time as they reciprocate and Twitter and Facebook are allowed to be in their country. Period, full stop. That is my belief. And that is what you should believe too, Molly. As much as you hate Facebook, you must come around to my way of thinking. This is a really communist country. You cannot give people the benefit of the doubt. These are sadistic maniac actors. You should look at them no differently than Mohammed bin Salim, honestly, in Saudi Arabia, who chopped up journalists. These are the same people.
I'm not convinced that Palantir isn't in the same camp. I'm just not.
I just spit out my charcoal. Okay, boom. I can guarantee you Palantir has not dismembered a journalist or put 1 million people into concentration camps and had them pick cotton in the north of China.
Look.
Okay? This is a completely different scale. The what do they call that? The whataboutism? Is that the term when you conflate two different things that should not be conflated? This is textbook whataboutism, Molly. We have to get past this. The long list of things we do wrong here in the United States is in no way comparable to genocide or chopping up a journalist. Palantir could be evil in your mind, but they're not chopping up a journalist. They're not putting 1 million people in a concentration camp, Molly.
Yeah. Okay, I get it.
I'm sorry I'm so upset about this, but
no, I mean,
this happens every time I talk about human rights. There is a spectrum here.
There is a spectrum. There is a continuum.
There's a continuum. That's the word. Thank you.
And there is also manipulation of information to achieve certain aims, right? Like we will take our eye off the ball if we're like TikTok is the great evil, when in fact we have metadata. We have so much of the same information collection, data collection by the United States government, by cell phone providers, by Clearview AI, which is embedded in lots of police departments. And frankly, the fact that we don't chop up journalists now, right? Like all of this is abstract until it's not. And we're allowing all of the same data collection with the assumption that the United States government, our law enforcement are all going to continue to be good actors in the world. And we don't know that is the case. And the United States has perpetrated some pretty serious human rights abuses too on the border in terms of separating children from their parents. Like I am definitely not trying to downplay the concern of these regimes that are truly evil. But I am saying that any regime can end up there and that we're not, and I'm not going to pretend that somehow what is happening at TikTok, and frankly, what these tapes really show from a reporter, by the way, who like then full disclosure was like, I used to work for Facebook, is that TikTok internally seems to be trying really hard to shut off this flow of data. That's what these tapes really say. And to make sure that it's not happening, and it's unclear whether it's happening, but that they're trying to shut it off. So like, I don't want to focus so much on TikTok.
Unpack the part about the Facebook thing. Yeah, we gotta pull up that disclosure. That I was a little concerned about as well. Like,
right, like you see that in there, and you're just like, wait, what?
She worked in policy. Did she work at Facebook previously? This reporter, because we invited her on the show, by the way. She was going to come on, and she's welcome to come on.
In the part, by the way, where it says that, again, the vast majority of situations where China-based staff access to U.S. user data were in service of the aim to halt the data access. Disclosure: in a previous life, I held policy positions at Facebook and Spotify.
Got it. Okay, so she's a policy person who's now a journalist.
Policy.
Policy. I got it. And so
like, I don't,
your thesis here is
I'm not disqualifying her at all.
I wonder if she still owns her Facebook stock.
Right? Like I'm just saying these stories are popping up at the exact time that TikTok represents an existential threat to Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. I don't, there's something about the propaganda part of this.
Why would BuzzFeed allow her to do this story? Why wouldn't they assign the story to somebody who didn't work previously at Facebook? Like, I mean, wouldn't they just say to her, listen, it's great that you got the scoop.
Yeah.
We're going to have somebody else do it so that your fingerprints aren't on it.
I think if you do it and disclose it, but disclose it at the top of the story.
Like, how far down is that? How far down is that? Let's see.
Let's see.
I know we're getting into the weeds here, but I do think that is very pertinent what paragraph it's in. Somebody just tell me it's the fifth, sixth paragraph?
No, it's like
most people read the first 2 or 3 paragraphs in these stories.
Okay, so let's see.
They don't go below the
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, it's like 25. It's like 25. It's like paragraph 25.
No. Really?
Oh, yeah.
That is dark.
I mean, I lost count. Gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I mean, if it's not in the first 3 paragraphs, it's a total foul.
It's 8.
All right. If it's in the 8th paragraph, it's a complete foul.
It's in the 8th paragraph.
That is so dumb. Whoever the editor at BuzzFeed is, like, you guys need to have a meeting about this. This is 2 very stupid decisions. 1, she should not be allowed to write the story. She should have handed it off. Number 2, Molly's correct. It should be up top, or you should have put a second journalist on it and then just disclose this in the top. But what a horrible editorial decision, I think.
And I mean, look, maybe it's
really
fine,
bad.
But it's just...
Well, the appearance of impropriety is something you have to always avoid in journalism, finance, whatever. You just never want to be in this position. This is why, like, anytime I'm talking about Lyft or DoorDash, I'd say, oh yeah, listen, I still own some shares of Uber. If I'm talking about, Robinhood, hey, I still own some shares of Robinhood, like, specifically. I don't own shares of Palantir. And I sold my Facebook shares, which I think was seems like an okay trade now. When I sold them in the $110, $120 range, I think. I had Facebook shares through a company they bought that I was a shareholder in. And I just didn't want to hold Facebook because I felt bad about it. If you're a startup, having a disorganized team is going to kill your business. You need everybody to be on the same page. And as an investor, I see this all the time. You must adopt a right first culture, especially in this remote world, and use great structure in a beautiful Coda page. One doc to rule them all. Works right out of the box. It's totally customizable. In Coda, your text and tables, they live together on the same doc, which means all your valuable data, the objectives, the KPIs, the strategies are all in one place. Nothing gets lost, and your team is literally on the same page. Some great ways that we use Coda: product roadmaps, absolutely important. Remote onboarding, super important. And taking meeting notes. And Coda has a ton of templates for almost anything you can imagine. In fact, we put our 100-point checklist on Coda. So just go to thisweekinstartups.com/SC. You can make a copy of this. You can do the checklist yourself with your internal team. You can expand it. You can make it a 200-point checklist. You could make 3 sub-checklists underneath some of the important items. So join the productivity revolution and sign up for Coda. Head to coda.io/twist to sign up and get $1,000 in startup credits. Huh? How great is that? But anyway, let's go on to the second story here, because at the same time this is dropping, we find out in the New York Times story that the Chinese government is investing massively in surveillance. There is no doubt in my mind that whatever we know is but 10, 20, 30% of what's going on. I think you would agree with that premise. If we have, and if you've ever seen or know about the Stasi, or if you've seen the movie The Lives of Others, highly recommend. This would be a weekend movie you will love. Absolutely fantastic. When you see the level authoritarian governments go to spy on their own citizens, because that is the only way to maintain control, you will have revolutions and rebels and all kinds of stuff will emerge. Information and squashing things early is sadly the best technique. This New York Times investigation tracked down over 100,000 Chinese government's RFPs. If you don't know what an RFP is, that's a request for proposal. This is a document that says, hey, here's what we're looking to buy. So when we did the conference in Miami, we put out an RFP. We're looking for event producers to do 3 different themed parties. Here's what we're looking for. Here's what we want to pay. Here's how many people are going. This is our budget, whatever it is. And then people can, you basically send them the RFP so they don't have to ask you 20 questions. You're giving them the 20 answers. Okay. These documents were directly from the government themselves. This is the government putting out publicly on their websites what they wanted, because I guess in China, like in the United States, you put these RFPs out publicly so everybody gets a chance to bid on them. So theoretically, the government gets the best price. So a group that watches Chinese behavior collected these before they were taken down and got them to the New York Times, I guess. And the requests were stunning. The government wanted camera installations in apartment buildings, hotel lobbies, malls, with facial recognition technology and the ability to match your social media accounts with your phone and with these photos. So an example was all of mainland China's regions use these phone trackers to map citizens' activity daily. If we allow TikTok in the United States, I can assure you the government knows where any senator, any FBI agent, CIA agent, law authority, Department of Justice, attorney, or any child of a president or vice president or secretary of state, where they are. Now, if you know where the child of a secretary of state is, you probably, or a Navy SEAL, let's say, you're going to know where the Navy SEAL is. And Navy SEALs are a pretty big asset, and hits were put out on Navy SEAls.
You actually already know that from Strava. If we allow Verizon in the United States to gather metadata on every citizen with absolutely no transparency or rules, then we do have rules, but freaking trivial for a Chinese spy to access that information, go to work for that company, right? Like, I'm just saying that as a person who keeps this on my desk as a Bible, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff, data collection is massively dangerous and terrifying, and is happening in the United States within companies at almost the exact same rate.
I will absolutely concede.
And I hope that we never end up under an authoritarian government But I don't know that we won't. And frankly, I don't want our entire, our manipulation so far is just like to get us to buy stuff.
Now, as scary as the possibility you describe is, Molly, now imagine it's the reality. Because it is. Right now, the Chinese government has access to all of this TikTok stuff. I guarantee it. Dollars to donuts, 100%. They've got all this. And who knows what else they've hacked. So the question is, do you want them to have this in real time? Yes, of course, they could send spies out to follow somebody or tail somebody. They could compromise somebody's phone. They could jailbreak
data collection, to be clear. Okay. I am not arguing for data collection.
Right.
I am arguing against data collection, but I'm also arguing for against easy villains.
Well, okay.
And I'm not even saying China, I
don't think they're an easy villain. I just think they're a villain.
China may be. We don't know if TikTok is. We know that there is a lot of protectionism built in.
The Americans working at TikTok are traitors. Any American working at TikTok is a goddamn traitor.
Wow.
And they should quit now. I am 100% dead serious. If you work for that company, you are a traitor. You know, there's a reason why we're trying to get them to dismantle the data set. And there's a reason Trump did that saber rattling. If you work there, I hope the money is amazing for you to give all of our children's data, all of this control. And let's not even get into the algorithm and how it's programming our children and the detrimental effect, giving them the ability to turn some dials and make the algorithm show things that, I don't know, maybe talk about things that in America are very divisive.
That is already happening on YouTube and Facebook. And you know where I've seen that happen to my child? On YouTube. You know where I haven't seen it happen to my child? On TikTok.
Oh, no, it happens on TikTok too. But we're just, the question is, as bad as that is, now give the remote control, give those dials, give that control to the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party. This thing has to be stopped. Now, going deeper into the rabbit hole of this New York Times story, 25 out of the 31 provinces have DNA databases of their citizens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Quoting the New York Times, DNA, iris scan samples, and voice prints are being collected indiscriminately from people with no connection to crime. China is doing massive domestic surveillance on a level not seen in the history of humanity for incredibly nefarious reasons. We are doing it probably second only to them, and we're doing it for capitalistic reasons. And Europe is pumping the brakes on it, and we're pumping the brakes on it here too, obviously. Some of it is voluntarily, and some of it is for competition reasons, like Apple versus Facebook. But we really need to get our heads together on this issue. We need to understand that our rival China is a very serious rivalry. India has taken a very savvy approach of blocking these apps. We need to 100% block these apps forever. Either spin the company out and make it a standalone company and get the profits from it. Whatever ByteDance wants to do, they can get their shareholders a release, make it a U.S. company with a U.S. board, and data. And then, sure, more data controls for U.S. companies. Absolutely. All of that. Yes. And.
I will just not find it. I mean, I'm sorry. I will not find it credible if we ban TikTok and don't reform data collection in the United States. I just won't. I don't think that's credible.
I think these two things.
I mean, Palantir is doing data collection or DNA collection, rather. Like literally letting people upload more. I mean, it's mostly global in nature, but it is happening.
Are they doing that really? Like people opting into it?
No, it's allowing, let's see, it was mostly in, they allowed members of the military in Iraq and other countries to upload DNA samples from remote locations to collect fingerprints and DNA evidence. All right, it's not the same. They're not doing it to the same degree.
Got it.
I'm just saying, I don't find it credible to say this one thing has to go and everything else that the United States companies and our government are doing can remain the same.
Oh, I think it's an end, but I think one is 100 times more.
But the more we demonize the one, the less we make it an and.
No, I think it isn't. No,
it offers us an easy out to say we're not as bad as them. Even if it's true, it does offer us an easy out.
I think the opposite. I think if we describe exactly what they have access to and why it's dangerous, then people immediately go, okay, what about YouTube? And you say, okay, yes, let's drill down into what YouTube is doing. Let's drill down into what Facebook is doing. And then, and YouTube is Google. Google has a transparency report on all of the government subpoenas it gets. They fight them and they report them, right? Unless there's one category they don't report on, which is I think the FISA ones where they're not allowed to report that a FISA has been given because that would tip off the terrorist. But I think that's only for a short period of time, and that's like a very senior level judge that can do like a FISA thing, and it's like a whole panel. It's a real rigmarole to do a private subpoena like that or tracking. But anyway, this is really just, and for the people who work at TikTok, shame on you. Shame on you.
Wow.
Like, how could you work for a Chinese company that's doing this?
That went up a notch quickly.
Sorry. I think the people have to own their own behavior. That's it. Period, full stop. I feel the same way, about, I'm not saying I don't want to see relations occur between these countries.
I mean, what is the end game of the idea that if you work with the Chinese, you're traitors?
For this specific company, I'm saying it's reciprocity and the data. So if this country has a track record of stealing data, if these engineers can't figure out what's even going on with the software, and we know that they're tracking our kids, have access to their photo albums. I mean, this is like a really existential risk, I believe. To be
fair, they do not have a proven track record of taking this data.
I said the Chinese Communist Party does. The Chinese Communist Party does.
Oh, yeah, they definitely do.
They were upfront about it. Like, we're going to do a security. We're doing. They shut Didi off.
But would you really want Facebook to be operating in China, knowing how much data Facebook has about everybody, like 2 billion people on Earth? Like, I wouldn't.
There would be an argument to be made in the issue of national security. In the issue of national security, I have to think that through. There are two things: the spread of democracy and information, and people having access to free information and free expression. It would be pretty hard to stop Twitter and Facebook from people having this sort of freedom. The thing it would cause, if the servers and the data was local, is Facebook and Twitter and Google would have to hand over dissidents to be tortured, raped, murdered, and beaten. Sorry, re-educated. The umbrella known as re-education in China. So this is why Yahoo left, I think, and a lot of people left, and why Google didn't enter.
But a lot of companies didn't. Apple didn't leave. Tesla didn't leave. Like, how far is this going to go? I'm just saying, watch it with these takes, because how far is this going to go? We do have deep, deep business relations. I'm sorry, the NBA.
It's the data.
Is arguably a wholly owned entity of China at this point, and so is Hollywood. So, like,
building widgets and data
manipulation can occur in movies.
So, I just think that the data and building widgets are two different things. Like an Amazon Basics cable or an iPhone or a Tesla is like a different thing than everybody's data and their photo libraries.
Isn't economic control, frankly, more powerful in some ways? I mean, look at the capitulation that we have seen to China from the NBA, from Hollywood, from
and maybe the opposite. China,
that wrestler guy or whatever.
Yeah, and then the opposite.
Maybe, but China. But Apple is not out John Cena. Apple's not out here pissing off China either.
They've had a pretty contentious relationship at times, like the treatment of workers and the suicide stuff. Like, Apple kind of held them to a higher standard. So I think that's the argument people are making in favor of engagement, is that, then everybody's kind of got to meet in the middle on their beliefs. And then, there's the compromising nature, and then there's national security. So all these things are going on at the same time.
Economics are national security.
Of course they are. But the data of all these individuals, like the scale of the data collection is truly, truly terrifying.
If I wanted to break a country, I would do it with economics, not data.
You probably use every resource you have, so I don't disagree. I mean,
sure.
We broke Russia with...
Then I don't think you can have the one without the other. I mean, Russia maybe arguably broke us with data or propaganda, but
they definitely attempted that. Yeah, we'll see if we withstand it. But also, we broke them with these sanctions. Obviously, like their economies really got challenges now and going forward with everybody pulling out of it. So, I think in a war, everybody will use every option. And I think this is an option we don't want them to have, which is why India said, no bueno with you having the product here in our country. Period, full stop. And reciprocity is a way of kind of enforcing it without banning it. It's just like, okay, there's always an option here. And so to your question, like, why reciprocity? It's kind of a principle thing. Hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And so we should all play by the same rules.
All right. Good talk.
Right. We'll have to agree to disagree. I'm sorry I got a little spicy there, but
I love it. Are you kidding? Get spicy.
Well, listen, I don't disagree with any of your points.
Are you mad? Are we cool?
No, I'm disappointed in you. Very disappointed in you. No, I'm joking. No, I mean, everybody's going to, this is not a, I don't think
I'm disappointed in you is my new
very
favorite.
disappointed in you.
I'm just...
I'm so disappointed. I think that this is the thing we have to think about as Americans is when is engagement productive and when is, reciprocity and holding the line appropriate. For me, if I'm the NBA, I'm thinking, great. If people love LeBron James and, they wear, Steph Curry's jersey or whatever it is, and they, that's great for building a fabric between the two countries. We both enjoy the same thing. If they love Tom Cruise movies, great. But if an American has to bend the knee, like they
when
asked Daryl Morey to do,
when we literally edit Taiwan out of movies or out of posters.
Ridiculous. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And
so that's where
I don't know, man.
You have to hold the line, I think. And this, I think, is a hold the line.
Not.
You can't hold the line on everything or else it's just going to be some things you have to negotiate, some things you have to hold the line. I think India's done a pretty good job with it. They're holding the line on the app being there, but I'm sure they do plenty of trade with China as well.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of those situations where we absolutely must hold the line. In 2022, digital ads are not what they used to be. Costs are increasing, attribution is less effective, and targeting, well, it's just more difficult. This means marketers need to diversify their media mix, and you can do that with OOH, or out-of-home advertising. OOH includes stuff like giant billboards and beautiful painted murals. These kind of ads get great reach, higher brand recall, and the lowest CPMs of any traditional ad type. But buying OOH is super clunky. There's thousands of vendors, the sale process is opaque, and the data is a mess. But now there's AdQuick. AdQuick.com makes it easy to plan, buy, and measure every kind of outdoor advertising, like those giant billboards or painted murals I just mentioned. And with AdQuick, you'll get robust data sets, fast execution, and accurate measurement across every KPI. And AdQuick is a global player in the ad space. They're active in 19 countries. So go to adquick.com/twist and mention twist to get $1,000 off your first campaign. How generous is that? Thanks to our friends at adquick.com/twist. Terms and conditions do apply.
Speaking of Amazon, but also leaks.
Yeah.
One of Amazon's leaked memos from 2021, and this is just fascinating, said that the company was actually in danger of running out of people to hire in U.S. warehouses by 2024. The report, according to Vox's Recode, warned that Amazon's labor crisis was especially imminent in locales like Phoenix, the Inland Empire region of California, and Los Angeles, and that they could literally not have enough people to hire to staff their huge warehouses.
Makes absolute sense to me. Americans are doing better than ever in terms of their ability to spend on this kind of stuff. They become addicted to it. And yeah, I mean, there are people who work at Amazon and then are going home and buying from Amazon. It's just such a delightful experience to get whatever you want, whenever you want. I now have a new philosophy of stuff, which is I can just order, when something breaks or whatever, I'm just I can just order that and have it here the same day or the next day. It's totally changed my behavior. What same day delivery or next day delivery has done. The whole concept of 2-day delivery is 2 days? I'm outraged when I'm in Tahoe and it takes 2 days or 3 days. I'm like, what? I need a new pair of socks? And you're saying I have to wait 2 days? I need new socks. I got them the same day. I was like, I need new socks for mountain biking. The same day the socks came. I was like, this is getting weird, It
is. Well, and it's interesting because on the one hand, it's a labor story oh, no, we don't have enough people to hire. But the truth is that what we don't have is enough people to staff a complete sea change in consumer expectation. Right?
Yeah, that's actually the way to say it. Eloquently said, yes.
Because if we've changed the entire way that this is not how commerce has ever operated.
No.
And apparently it's massively labor intensive. Well, and there just are not enough warm bodies.
I mean, let's be honest. How many boxes, how many Amazon orders a week are you doing in your household?
Between 5 and 10, depending on the week.
All right. It's got to be,
it's got to be over 10 for us. Up.
Yeah. It's got to be 10 for us. We have 3 kids here. So I mean, it's 10 for us. You just extrapolate that.
Yeah.
Some weeks it might be 3 or 4, but it's, 5 to 10. Everything comes by Amazon now. It's like you said, subscribe and save for your favorite coffee or whatever your shampoo, whatever your
Sunscreen.
jam is.
Shampoo, all of it.
All of it's on subscribe and save. Stuff is just constantly coming. It's coming so fast now that I am actually doing the Amazon day so that I get fewer boxes, because now the amount of boxes and the act of opening boxes, which used to be a joyful moment in people's lives, has now become the thing that's annoying. We are so entitled that breaking down boxes has become the annoying thing. I literally have, here it is. I literally have this on my desk. This is like the ceramic. It's a ceramic box opener.
Oh, that's fancy.
It's awesome. And it's like, again, you can order it on Amazon for like $6. But this thing, you know why I have this? Because we get so many goddamn boxes in this house. It's like a UPS facility that it fills the recycle box. So now I break down the boxes. So I sit there like I'm working at Walmart or, Trader Joe's, and I'm a clerk, and I spend, one day a week breaking down boxes, because there's other people who live in my house who take the boxes and throw them in to the recycle, which means 4 boxes and it's full.
They don't break them down?
They don't break them down.
You can't.
And so I'm the breakdown guy. I'm training people. I bought a 3-pack of these, and I put them in strategic locations because they'll hang like on a hook. So
those are amazing, and I should totally get that. And that's a much more humane thing than we have, because we have these little like karambit things that we call the claw, which are these insane curved knives.
Are you nuts? Look at that thing. Oh my God.
My son went through this little like CSGO phase.
That looks like a raptor claw.
We've got like 3 of those. They're perfect for opening boxes.
That's how many claws a raptor has per hand. It's 3.
Listen, I like my stuff to be multi-purpose. So I like to know that I could kill an intruder.
It is actually that would.
And then we shout, "Karambit!"
We're basically getting to the point where everybody's going to have a miniature raptor. These miniature ponies and miniature bulldogs, miniature whatever dogs. We should just use DNA sequencing to make mini raptors, and then you just take your mini raptor and you throw it into your recycling, and it just shreds the boxes for you. And then you feed it.
Right.
Something.
That would be amazing. But could I use that on an intruder? That's my question. Yes, I could.
A raptor would be great for intruders.
I need a robot raptor, and Amazon needs more robots, because this is so interesting. Like now that we're kind of breaking this down to its component parts and realizing that the problem is that we've created an economy that there aren't enough humans to staff. Yeah. This is not a shortage.
Yeah.
This is this is an existence problem. Not enough labor exists possibly to fuel this economy. And so then what is the question? Is it open the doors and allow immigration again, or robots, or both?
Yeah, this is the problem with immigration. Is I've talked about this so many times. Like people don't even know how many people come into the country by year, and so it has really dropped. I think we admitted just over 1 million the last couple of years, and it was 2 or 3 million. But yeah, it just keeps going down. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. How few people we let in. That's one solution, is to let more people in. The other solution is automation, obviously. And they have a lot of automation going on there. The last mile obviously is a big one. So drones are going to help that. We talked about, we live in the future, the pneumatic tubes kind of concept, in cities, the tubes.
Very cool.
And then those little robots that look like R2-D2 that will just go 5 miles an hour to your house. Those are going to be helpful. Autonomy, full autonomous cars and delivery. That's all coming. So this does seem like a bridge issue. Anybody who has these jobs is not going to have them in 10 years. So this is a short-term pain problem. And here's the solution. Charge more. Pay more.
It's true. Because everything we've just said about how we're living in all of this delivery is terrible. It's actually consumerism run amok. It's the reason that the supply chains are so screwed up, because we cannot stop buying stuff. And it's
an addiction.
Horrific. It is horrific in terms of carbon emissions.
It's terrible for the environment. I literally am on a jihad to stop my own consumption, and like literally metal straws, major part of it. Like,
I got my little silicone ones. I like them because they don't make as much noise.
And then I'm making iced tea. I'm making the chicory coffee cold brew, and I'm doing liquid IV instead of buying bottles of, whatever Gatorade or, Gatorade ice I used to buy. And now I use a liquid IV. Use a promo code TWIST.
I'm trying to integrate. Yeah, use a promo code TWIST. I'm trying to integrate very zero waste and less waste strategies into my life. It is a hard transition.
Well, here's the thing. I would one pump up. I don't know if liquid IV does this, but now this is the the same addiction. Humans are very addicted. You notice that, Molly? Like we get addicted to things.
Yes.
We have like a very weird addiction thing where like we have habits and we get into patterns and they're like repetitive. So I think what's happening is we've gotten into this loop with Amazon where we just keep ordering and ordering and ordering and it releases dopamine and we're just like in this habit. Yeah. Then the reverse habit happens where you are like, okay, I'm going to try to not order stuff. So everything I'm doing now is trying to find the one pan that I will never have to replace again, or the boots. I talked about my Danner boots or my Crockett & Jones shoes from London. They're $800 shoes. I've had them for now 10 years. I get them resold every 4. And the leather is so good that when you polish it up, I mean, I'm still wearing the same awesome shoes for almost 10 years now. I'm in shock, and they're still my favorite shoes. I mean, I was going through dress shoes like crazy when I was buying the cheaper ones. And this $800 pair, they're still rocking it. So now I started looking at the packets that the Liquid IV comes in, which is super convenient. I was like, I wonder if they offer like a mason jar, glass jar filled with this powder. So I could have 3 of those and just do a scooper. I'm totally fine with doing a scooper. I don't need the single pack. I mean, I do need a single packet when I'm traveling, which is fine. But I'm just going full on, no packaging, please. And we have that company we're working on, which we should have them on. That's in the incubator. Should have them on to talk about what they're doing at some point. Have they been on the pod yet?
We did. Yeah.
Oh, you interviewed them, right?
Yeah, she's been on.
What's the state of that company? Are they ready to launch something, or
spring? I think so. Yeah, they're a pilot in DC.
Got it.
Yeah.
Can't
so I think they're ready to. I just want that to exist so badly because it is very. Yeah. I like firmly believe that consumers will change behavior if they have a cool thing to buy. Tesla has proven that. Apple has proven, right? Like we've seen. But Beyond Meat, Impossible Burgers, all of those have proven that. But you have to have the thing. Like to ask any individual to go to the store and buy everything in bulk and put it in glass jars themselves and bring them and do it's just not credible. But to offer them that as a service, hell yeah. We're addicted to that. We will definitely subscribe to that.
Well, and then there's the habit. And so how can you make the habit? I'm really getting into habits now. And, you just have to if you can really work this loop in your favor. So like I'm doing that with my schedule where I'm time blocking stuff, where I'm trying to get on the treadmill, listen to the stories for today's show while I'm on the treadmill in the morning. You see that when I'm going back and forth, just trying to get more into that loop, which I did with skiing this year, where I was like, okay, these 4 days a week, I'm going to ski during this window, move my meetings. If you can get yourself in that loop, I guess there's like all these books about habit that talk about this, where you just schedule it and then just
there's some amount of days, right? It's like 21 days.
Yeah, there's something
if you
where
can
your
do
brain
something for 21 days, it'll be a habit.
Creates a habit. Yeah. So anyway, I think it's one of the things we have to think about with these companies and getting into a habit. The other thing I'm thinking about is when do I replace my cars? So I replace my cars when I like the new features and I want them.
It's
not actually my choice.
Yeah.
It's kind of when somebody dangles enough out there and I'm like, okay, I've now had the Y for a while, had the X for a while, 6-7 years for the X, I think. And then the Y I've had for 2 or 3 years. And I'm like, I'm going to get the new one. I'm going to get the plaid. I'm going to get this. And I'm like, should I do that or not for the environment? Should I try to get to 10 years? Should I try to? And I was at one point in my life, I was like, I'm going to get a new car every 3 years and somebody else can drive my 3-year-old car with 20,000 miles on it and, just be like a luxury I could have. Now I'm just like, I don't know that I want that luxury as opposed to the joy. Because I'm starting to feel joy by consuming less and getting more value out of things. Isn't that weird?
Me too. No, it's not. I think it's not at all. It's like that is so profound because that's values changing. And when values change, behavior changes. And I feel the same way. I'm like so proud of myself whenever I'm very into, we were talking about this yesterday in our investment meeting, the circular economy and circularity, the idea of putting stuff into circulation for reuse. I do my Rent the Runway thing. I'm trying to buy used clothes, used furniture. There's all these resale, like re-commerce is a huge consumer trend.
I like the re-commerce.
And it's all about changing values. And it's awesome. There's really good out there that people aren't using anymore. It's amazing.
I'm now doing this. I bought this fancy mountain bike for my summer hobby. And, it's a little embarrassing, but I spent $9,000 on an electric mountain bike.
Yeah.
I literally bought the best one because here's what I thought.
I'm like, yeah, that's kind of standard.
Well, no, it was shocking to me.
For really great bikes. Great bikes are expensive.
But I said to myself, I'm going to get the best one. I looked at the resale value. I can resell this specialized bike for like whatever, call it 6 or 7K of the 9. So then I said, okay, if I can resell it for 6, that means it's actually costing me 3 for the next 2 years or something like that. If I can do 100 rides, it's $30 a ride. I go to lunch, I spend $30. This is for my health and it's more exciting. I go skiing, whatever. And then I just divide the cost by the number of times I use it. And then it reduces my anxiety of like a purchase like this. So I'm actually thinking, I'm factoring consumption in to everything I do.
Back of the envelope math, that's your jam.
That's kind of my jam. And so you'd be surprised what you can justify if you just say, hey, what's the resale value of these shoes? If I what's the recirculation thing?
Re-commerce and circularity. Circularity is the overall
was the word
concept.
We were talking about. Circularity is an amazing thing to me. If you just think about Amazon, do you ever buy used stuff on Amazon? I buy used books sometimes.
I think I've bought used books a couple times on Amazon. But
when I did buy
reducing my Amazon use is what makes me want to. As
I did the books because they were out of print, I think, was the issue when I did that.
Right. Totally. I've done that too.
Okay. Well, anyway, if you have stories or ideas around these kind of startups, or you're starting a startup, or you find one that's doing this, let us know, because we would like to invest in them. All right. Tomorrow, Lon Harris is back on the show for our This Week in Streaming segment. Cannot believe it. The anticipation of Obi-Wan for 2 years and for a lifetime wondering what happened between episodes 3 and 4 has come to an end. And I watched episode 6, the finale of Obi-Wan. I am so excited for you, Molly, to watch it. I'm watching it again tonight with my daughters.
Good. I can't wait.
And Molly is going to tomorrow also interview the founder and CEO of Capital RX, which is trying to, like Mark Cuban's company, trying to reinvent and lower the cost of drugs.
Hallelujah.
Praise
and then
Jesus.
On Friday, we have another recurring guest that you're going to love, an awesome one. Just stay tuned for this, Praying for Exits. If you're not already following Praying for Exits on Instagram, you should be. And of course, another OK Boomer.
Yes. And that's going to be a great interview. I actually had him on. I think we figured out who he is, but we're not going to spoil it. He runs Praying for Exits on Instagram, a hilarious account where he kind of takes the piss out of our industry, but in a good way, in an entertaining way. It's not vindictive or anything, but it's brutally candid. And so it's only the second person we've ever had on anonymously. And we're having him on a second time because if you take it from the perspective of it's definitely an insider, maybe has an axe to grind, but he kind of has informed opinion. So if you go in with a low expectation, you find out the person's pretty well informed. I cannot wait for you to hear my solo dolo interview, Molly. We're going solo dolo for the summer, so Molly and I can get a little time out and forgive us, but we're doing 6 shows a week. Can we get a little time in the mountains?
I'll be off praying for an exit, interviewing a founder that's hopefully going to become our next big. So,
praying for exits, yeah.
See what I did
so
there?
Funny. And then OK Boomer from Rachel tomorrow too.
Always on Friday. And then if you have topics you want us to cover and you want to be where the pre-show action happens, join the Twist community on Twitter at thisweekinstartups.com/TC for Twitter community.
We got 1,200 members in this community, and we're going to start doing more there. We show up right around 3 or 4 o'clock every day to just peek in and say hi to everybody. You got questions for us? I want to do a call-in show where people call in for advice and do mentoring. I want to do more mentoring. So Jason mentors. This is different than Ask Jason. It's a new concept I want to do. Jason mentors somebody. And here's my my thesis, Molly. I mentor them, and then we check back in with them 30 days later, 60 days later, and see if they took the mentoring. Kind of like almost like a reality show, where I get inside somebody's head, give them some... Almost like that.
Seems like there could be some potential there.
Could be. All right. We'll see you all tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, the URL is thisweekinstartups.com/TC, Twitter community. Thisweekinstartups.com/TC. It forwards you. Thank you for doing this, everybody on my team, to this Twitter community. It's got 1,200 members. But don't spam it. Talk about startups. Talk about the show. Stay focused. There's a bunch of mods in there. Thanks to our mods, Bob G, Surge Dog. So many great mods working with us on if you want to be a mod, just show up every day, Zen Profit at youtube.com/thisweekend, youtube.com/thisweekend. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell. You get an alert. I'm going to also do some random drops. I decided I have the YouTube password. So I may do some random drops where I just talk to the audience over the weekend if a breaking news story happens. So get ready for that too. Yeah.
Good time.
I'm in a creative mode right now.
You really are.
Creative juices going. I have ideas. I have ideas for new shows. Like I've got my
Summer.
creative juices flowing. The summer's doing it to me. The
He does
mountain
not take
biking.
summer off. Exactly.
I don't take any time off because this is not a job for me. This is like talking to you for an hour. I could talk to you for an hour every Saturday and Sunday and not put the cameras on. It'd be fun.
It's true. It's true.
See you all
right.
tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.